Magandang araw. Here is our video discussion for module number 13 for BAM 026. Our lesson title is Extinguishment of Obligation Part 4, Loss of the Thing Due. And the following are our lesson objectives. First, at the end of this module, you can explain when a thing is considered lost. Second, you can state the effects of loss of a generic thing and specific thing. Third, understand the presumption of fault in case of loss and the effects of impossibility of performance, difficulty of performance, and fortuitous events. Our productivity tip for today, the process of turning a dream into reality is never easy. No successful person in this planet can honestly say that everything that they achieved comes naturally and without difficulty. Perseverance is a must. Happy learning. So kailangan daw magsumikap talaga ang isang tao sapagkat walang isang tao man na successful sa mundong ito ang makakapagsabi na naging successful sila nang walang kahirap-hirap. Ayan. So lesson, preview or review. So at first glance, it will seem like when the object of the obligation was lost, it will automatically follow that the obligation is extinguished because there is nothing to deliver anyway. But it is not. If you are the debtor, what will you do if the thing you are about to deliver was lost? Even if you are still willing to fulfill your obligation, you have nothing to deliver. Will saying to the creditor that you are sorry be enough? If you are in the shoes of the creditor, will sorry be enough for you? Will you not be curious to know what really happened? Don't you want to know the exact reason behind the loss of the thing so you will know for sure if the debtor can be held liable for damages? So indeed, loss of the thing due is one of the modes of extinguishment of obligation. But there are certain rules when the loss of the thing due can actually extinguish an obligation. In this module, prepare to learn the rules, requisites, and technicalities pertaining to the loss of the thing due. Alright. So, isa sa mga modes of extinguishment ng obligation ay yung pagkawala ng bagay na dapat i-deliver. However, hindi palagian na porket nawala na yung bagay na dapat i-deliver ng debtor sa creditor ay nangangahulugan na agad na na-extinguish na yung obligation. May mga rules tungkol dito. Kung maalala mo, inaral natin yung determinate or specific thing at indeterminate or generic thing. Alam mo na ang generic thing ay madaling palitan. Halimbawa, kung ang object ng iyong obligation ay ibong maya. Kapag nakahuli ka na ng ibong maya at handa mo nang i-deliver sa creditor ang ibon na nahuli mo, however, hindi sinasadya ay nakawala ang ibon na maya na nahuli mo, ang ibig sabihin ba nito ay wala ka ng obligation na na-extinguish na ang obligation mo? The answer is no. Kasi pwede ka namang manghuli na lang ulit ng maya para yun na yung i-deliver mo sa creditor mo. So balit, iba ang magiging kwento kapag ang iyong dapat i-deliver ay isang determinate thing. Dahil ang determinate thing or specific thing ay isang bagay kung saan ito ay hindi napapalitan sapagkat ito ay unique at nag-iisa lamang. Example, ang kotse na may plate number na CHL 339. Isa lang yung kotse na may ganyang plaka. At kapag nawala yung kotse na yon na dapat mong i-deliver, at dahil ito ay isang specific o determinate thing, iko-considera na ang iyong obligation to deliver ay na-extinguish na. Ngayon, ang pag-uusapan na lang natin, porque ba na-extinguish ng obligation ay, ang ibig sabihin ba nito ay wala na talagang dapat na gawin o pwedeng singilin kay debtor? Depende yan. Kung maalala mo yung inaral natin sa Article 1170, na kailan nga ba held liable sa damages ang isang debtor? A debtor will be held liable for damages in case of, ayan, ilan yan, di ba? In case of fraud, negligence, delay, or contravention of the tenor of the obligation or breach of contract. Ayan. So kapag halimbawa, nawala yung bagay na hindi naman kagustuhan ni debtor at talagang dahil sa fortuitous event at hindi naman siya naka-ensure ng delay, masasabi natin na hindi siya magiging liable sa damages at talagang extinguish na yung kanyang obligation to deliver. However, even though the loss of the thing is due to fortuitous event, kapag kayong debtor ay na-delay sa pagde-deliver, then he will be held liable to damages. Example, dapat kahapon pa niya dineliver yung sasakyan. Yung sinabi ko sa inyo na may plaka na CHL 339. Dapat kahapon pa ha, pero tinamad siya. Sabi niya, bukas na lang. Ngayon na halimbawa yung bukas. At biglang bumagyo ng hindi inaasahan. Ayan. So, anong nangyari? Nag-landslide at natabunan yung sasakyan. Tamang hindi kasalanan ni debtor na natabunan yung sasakyan. Dahil ito ay kagagawa ng isang fortuitous event na hindi naman niya kayang makontrol. Pero kung maalala mo, dapat sana na i-deliver na niya yung sasakyan kahapon at hindi niya yun ginawa. At dahil doon, bagamat the thing was lost due to fortuitous event, the debtor will still be held liable to damages. Now you have to pause this for a while and answer the what I know chart. Okay. So here is our main lesson. When a thing is considered lost, kailan nga ba natin masasabi na yung isang bagay ay nawala na? According to Article 1189, a thing is lost when it perishes or goes out of commerce or disappears in such a way that its existence is unknown or it cannot be recovered. So kapag talagang nawala o nag-perish, naglaho ang isang bagay, consider na siya na lost. O kaya naman na goes out of commerce o naging isang bagay na hindi na pwedeng maging object ng bentahan ng mga tao. O kaya nawala siya sa paraan kung saan hindi mo na talaga alam kung nasan yung bagay na yon. Example, nakarnap yung sasakyan, so hindi mo na alam kung asan ba talaga. O kaya naman tinangay ng agos ng napakalakas na baha, hindi mo na alam kung saan napadpad. O kaya naman kung ang i-deliver mo halimbawa ay necklace, tapos nalaglag sa ilog ng Valdepuente, alam mo nalaglag sa ilog, pero malabo na ma-recover mo yon, lalo na kapag malalim yung ilog o kaya naman malakas yung agos ng tubig. Okay. So, yan yung sabihin na natin na grounds kung saan ang isang bagay ay makukonsidered as lost. When loss of thing will extinguish an obligation to give. Ito, when loss of thing will extinguish an obligation to give. Hindi po ito and, dapat dito ay an. Ayan. So, Article 1262. An obligation which consists in the delivery of a determinate thing shall be extinguished if it should be lost or destroyed without the fault of the debtor and before he has incurred delay. Okay, so kailangan daw yung sa obligation to give. Okay, ma-extinguish lamang ang kanyang obligation kapag talagang ang bagay na dapat niyang i-deliver ay nawala o nasira nang hindi niya kasalanan at hindi rin siya naka-incurred ng delay. Kagaya ng sinasabi ko kanina sa inyo na yung sasakyan nga ay kinatamaran na i-deliver ni debtor, tas kinabukasan ay nasira ng, sabihin natin na nawala, natabunan ng dahil sa landslide na gawa ng bagyo, pagamat yung bagyong ito at yung landslide ay isang bagay na fortuitous event at wala naman siyang control, dahil meron siyang delay na na-incurred, magiging liable pa rin siya sa damages. Okay. Next. According to Article 1262, in order that an obligation may be extinguished by the loss of the thing, the following requisites must be present. May requisites pa pala para yung isang bagay na nawala ay maka-extinguish ng obligation. Una, the obligation is to deliver a specific or determined thing. So sana maalala niyo, example natin dito ha, kasasabi ko lang naman yung tungkol sa ibong maya. Yung ibong maya ay isang indeterminate. Kaya hindi siya makaka-extinguish ng obligation. Sa katunayan, isa sa mga requisites para ang isang obligation ay ma-extinguish because of the loss of the thing, ay dapat yung obligation daw is to deliver a specific or determinate thing. Dapat din, number 2, the thing was lost or destroyed without the fault of the debtor. At syempre, lastly, the debtor does not incur delay. So from Article 1262, we can see that in order that the obligation may be extinguished by the loss of the thing which is subject of the obligation must be determinate or specific thing. Why? Because determinate or specific thing is irreplaceable. Okay. So, dito balikan daw natin yung definition ng determinate at specific thing. According to Article 1460. So, ang determinate or specific thing ay, a thing is determinate when it is particularly designated or physically segregated from all others of the same class. You may want to ask, what is the effect of loss of a generic thing? Isa lang ang sigurado dito, kapag ang nawala ay generic thing, hindi niya ma-extinguish yung obligation. Tingnan natin itong nag-uusap na to. Laura, I lost the blue pen I am about to deliver to you. It's okay, Jay. Just find another blue pen to deliver. Bakit hindi na-extinguish yung obligation? Kasi yung blue pen, maraming klaseng blue pen. Ayan. So, hindi may extinguish yung obligation ni J. So, according to Article 1263, in an obligation to deliver a generic thing, the loss or destruction of anything of the same kind does not extinguish obligation. Why? Because it is based on the principle that a generic thing never perishes. The debtor can still be compelled to deliver a thing of the same kind, and the creditor cannot demand a thing of superior quality, and the debtor cannot deliver a thing of an inferior quality. Minsan, yung isang bagay, hindi naman buong-buo nawawala. Minsan, it could also be partially lost. So what is the effect of partial loss of a specific thing? Article 1264. The courts shall determine whether, under the circumstances, the partial loss of the object of the obligation is so important as to extinguish the obligation. Ito, magiging usaping korte to kapag halimbawa talagang hindi na nila mapagkasunduan kung may extinguish na lang ba yung obligation or ito ay outstanding pa rin. So, ang sabi dito, there is a partial loss when only a portion of the thing lost is destroyed or lost, or when it suffers depreciation or deterioration. Partial loss is the equivalent of difficulty of performance in obligations to. In case of partial loss, the court shall determine whether the partial loss shall amount to extinguishment of an obligation. Pag-usapan natin yung presumption of fault. Article 1265. Kailan ba kasi masasabi na ang isang bagay na nawala ay may kasalanan yung debtor? Yan ay napakahirap sagutin, kaya naman nagkaroon na lang yung batas ng tinatawag na presumption o ipagpapalagay natin na whenever the thing is lost in the possession of the debtor, it shall be presumed that the loss was due to his fault. Okay. Kapag daw yung isang bagay ay nawala habang ito ay nasa possession ng debtor, ipagpapalagay muna natin na ito ay kasalanan ng debtor. Ngayon, unless there is a proof to the contrary, and without prejudice to the provisions of Article 1165, this presumption does not apply in case of earthquake, flood, storm, or other natural calamity. Okay. So, meron naman palang mga exceptions to the rule. So, unless magkakaroon siya ng proof na hindi niya talaga kasalanan, o kaya naman, nagkaroon ng mga hindi na-foreseen na mga events or fortuitous events kagaya ng earthquake, flood, storm, or other natural calamity, hindi natin masasabi na yung pagkawala ng bagay ay dahil na naging kasalanan ng debtor. Okay. So, pag-usapan natin yung effect of impossibility of performance of an obligation to do. Kanina, pinag-usapan natin yung obligation to give. Ngayon naman, dito tayo sa obligation to do. Ano nga ba ang effect kapag imposible na ma-perform ng debtor yung kanyang obligation to do? Meron kasing different kinds ng impossibility. Una, itong tinatawag natin na physical impossibility. Meron ding pangalawa, yung legal impossibility. Pag-usapan natin tong physical impossibility. Ito yung kung saan the obligor becomes physically incapacitated to perform his obligation. Example, Andy obliged himself to sculpt an eagle for Marvin to be finished within 2 months. 5 weeks after the agreement between the two, Andy was hit by a car and his hands were amputated. The obligation of Andy has become physically impossible and therefore he was released from his obligation. Ayan. Okay? So, paano pa nga naman makakapag-sculpt ng eagle si Andy kung wala na siyang mga kamay? Next is the legal impossibility. It is when the obligation cannot be performed because it is rendered impossibility by the provision of law. Example, Andy obliged himself to construct a commercial building for Marvin. The City Hall refused to issue a building permit because the area has been declared by law as a residential zone only. The obligation of Andy has become legally impossible and therefore he was released from his obligation. So kahit gustuhin man ni Andy na ipagtayo ng commercial building, itong si Marvin ay imposible sapagkat hindi naman sila binigyan ng permit ng City Hall. Okay. So effect of difficulty of performance. Ayan. Ano ba tong usapan ng cartoons nito? Sabi nung etong nasa taas, due to the heavy rain last night, the trail has become very dangerous. Sorry, I can't fulfill my obligation to lead your group to climb the mountain today. Sabi naman nung mga campers ay, but we are set to climb that mountain today. Parang nalulungkot din naman sila. However, syempre, because of the safety net issue, hindi na sila pwedeng tumuloy. So, ano nga ba ang effect ng difficulty of performance? Article 1267. When the service has become so difficult as to be manifestly beyond the contemplation of the parties, the obligor may also be released therefrom, and in whole or in part. So, in that particular day, itong si tour guide, kung hindi man niya ma-tour because of the trail has become very dangerous, hindi siya magiging liable sa damages kasi syempre una sa lahat hindi na madali na gawin yung bagay na yon sapagkat delikado na. So ang sabi dito, the court is authorized to release the debtor in whole or in part of the obligation when there is difficult performance which is beyond the expectation of both parties. Okay. So, I hope na may natutunan kayo sa module na to tungkol sa loss of paying due. So, that's all for today and see you all in our next discussion. So, I hope that after you watch this video, ay sagutan nyo na kagad yung mga activities.